Today I will show you how to create a tool like this that generates keywords with GPT-3. Let's first write in the browser Node.js. Node.js is an open source development platform based on JavaScript that runs on the server side. Click on the first result. On the page we will see two big buttons. We click on the one that says LTS. The download will start. The installation is basically next and next install. I won't finish the installation because I already have it. Then we will open the command prompt or CMD program. I will go to the documents folder. We do it by writing cd documents. Nuxt.js is a Vue.js based JavaScript framework for building web applications. So now we are going to create a Nuxt project. We wrote npx nuxt init and our project name. Wait a while and done. Now we enter the folder of our project with cd and the name of the project. Now we write yarn to install all the necessary dependencies of the project. This can take a while. Now we can run the project and see if it works, so we type yarn dev. Now it's running, so in our browser we type localhost 3000. Everything is working perfect. So now to continue we will search in the browser for the Visual Studio Code, which is a free code editor. We click on the first result, enter the page, download it, and next, install. Once installed, we open it and go to File and Open Folder. And we're going to go to the Documents folder and then to the project that we have created. We double click on it, we press on Select Folder. So now we have our project opened in Visual Studio Code, and if we press Ctrl+J, it will open a terminal on the folder's path. Now we will start with the interesting part. We will type yarn add OpenAI to install the OpenAI package. Okay, it's finished. Now we can use the OpenAI package on our project. Now we create the folder called Pages, where we are going to put the roads for our application. Inside it, we create an index.vue file that will be displayed when the user visits the root URL of your app. After that, we create the server folders. Inside another folder called API. Inside the API folder, we are going to create a file called gpt3.post.js. It is important that our file has the .post because this means that the file contains code that handles HTTP post requests. Now we can delete the app.vue where the welcome message is and start working. We are going to open the index.vue that is inside the page folder. Here we are going to open and close the following tags. Template. We use it to define a block of HTML that will be rendered as a template, and a script where we are going to write our JavaScript code. So inside the template we will start to define our HTML by creating a div, and inside this div we will define our heading. After defining it, we use a breakline or BR. This will generate a white space between the elements. After we make our heading and breakline, now the interesting part. Let's define a text area, which is an HTML element that represents a multi-line text input control, allowing the user to enter and edit multiple lines of plain text. Inside the open tag, we will use a vModel. The vModel directive is a way to bind the value of an input element to a variable in your application. Within the quotes, we put the name of the variable that we want to record what the users write. Columns and rows, you can define how many columns and rows you want. And the placeholder is a short hint that is displayed in the text area. After that, we're going to make a breakline and the button that will generate the tags. We open and close button tags. Inside of it, we will put the text that we want to be displayed. It's so important. Inside the open tag, we will put add click equal quotes. Inside of it, we can define a method / function that we want to activate when the button is pressed. Now that we are done with the text area and the button, we do another breakline, and we will use an H2 to make a less important heading. And in this section, we will show the result. After we do our H2, we will do another breakline. Here, there is an important part. To display Nuxt variables in our HTML, we will use braces, and within those braces, the name of the variable that we want to display. In this case, we want to display the results. So I will use a H5 to display the results. Now we finished with the HTML part, and now we can start writing some frontend code. So we will define a JavaScript object with several properties. Inside it, we will declare the following method. Inside of it, we can declare the variables that we will use in our interface. So here we are going to declare the variables that we use above, text and results. We define them as strings. After that, we are going to declare methods, which is an object that contains all the methods / functions of the component. Here we are going to create the Gpt-3 method that we bind to the button. The function is defined as Gpt-3 parentheses. You don't need arguments. A lookup call is made to the API endpoint at /API/GPT3. This sends a request to the server. The search call is configured with several options, including the request method, that is post. The request headers, that is content type application JSON. And the request body, a JSON object containing the text we want to send. If the call succeeds, it returns a response object. This response object is passed to the first function as an argument, response. The first function then calls response.json, which parses the response body as JSON. This returns a promise that resolves to the parsed JSON object. The second function is then called with the parsed JSON object as an argument, textback. And inside textback are the results that the server gives us and that we want to display in the HTML. So we say this.results equals textback.result. Now we go to server API and we open the gpt3.post.js file. We're importing the necessary modules from the OpenAI package. The configuration module allows us to set up our API key for authentication with the OpenAI API. And the OpenAI API module allows us to use the create completion method, which we will use later to generate text based on the prompt we give it. Next, we are creating a new instance of the configuration class and passing in an object with our API key. This will be used to authenticate our request to the OpenAI API. Now, how to get an OpenAI API key? We simply go to beta.openai.com and register there. Once registered, we will click on our profile picture and we will click where it says See API Keys. Once there, we will click where it says Create New Secret Key and copy the key and go. Now we can use it in our project.
In this case, I create an environment variables file and there I will put my API key, which I will call from my code, but you can hardcode it directly in your code as a string.
Then we are creating an instance of the OpenAI API class, passing in the configuration object that we just created. This allows us to use the create completion method, which we will use to generate text based on the prompt we give it. We then define an event handler function that is triggered when the event is fired. Inside the function, we read the event body and extract the text GPT variable. Then we use the OpenAI instance we created earlier to call the createCompletion method and passing it an object with the following properties. Model. The name of the model we want to use, in this case, text DaVinci 003. The prompt. The prompt we want to give the model, in this case, string generated by calling the generate prompt function and passing in the text GPT variable. Max tokens. The maximum number of tokens words we want the model to generate in response to the prompt. Temperature, a value that controls the randomness or creativity of the generated text. The higher the value, the more creative the output is. The createCompletion method returns a promise that resolves to an object with the generated text. So we extract text from this object and return it as the result of the event handler function. And finally, the generate prompt function that takes a text GPT variable as an argument and returns a string that will be used as the prompt for the create completion method. As you see in the prompt, we generate in this function as a part that will delimitate the AI, because we are adding sort of rules when we say to the AI to give us a list of keywords separated by comma, and then we add the prompt we wrote in the frontend when we said me colon and the text from our frontend, and the part of bot colon is where the text completion will start.